Hey guys, Santa Claus here with another set of NFL predictions. This time it's week 16. So tonight we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the LA Rams. I'm actually going with the Rams here. This puts them at 8-7, and the Saints 7-8. Both of these teams are 7-7 heading into this matchup. Um, so and the Rams have something to play for because they currently hold a playoff spot. I think it's the number 7 seed. So So this puts them at 8-7 and more likely to make the playoffs at the number 7 seed. And as for the Saints, I don't think they'll make the playoffs just because that division is not really that good. So besides, Tampa Bay holds the tiebreaker for the division. So I think whoever wins that wins the division. I think Tampa Bay wins the division. But as for the Rams, they'll still hold a number 7 spot in the NFC, and I think they won't clinch anything, but they'll be 8-7. So they're turning their season around here. So Saturday at 4:30 we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going with the Bengals. The Steelers really haven't been playing all that well enough to win this game, but there are a couple of injuries that are keeping them from, you know, holding their full potential. If Kenny Pickett wasn't injured in that game against the Cardinals, then I don't think they would have lost 3 straight games. So, but I am picking the Bengals. This puts them at 9-6, and the Steelers 7-8. I don't think they clinch a winning season this year under Mike Tomlin because they've lost too many games. They've lost 7 games already, so they're 7-7. They're going to be 7-8 here, unless they beat the Bengals. So, that could also be a possibility. But I am going with the Bengals over the Steelers. This puts them at 9-6, and the Steelers 8-7, 7-8. Never mind. And this is the Peacock exclusive game. We have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going with the Bills. The Chargers fired their head coach, Brandon Staley, and I don't even know who their interim head coach is. So, it's bad in Charger land. But as for the Bills, they came up with a big win against the Cowboys. They're currently 8-6. So this puts them at 9-6, and the Chargers, this puts them at 5-10, probably eliminated from playoff contention. There's a lot of playoff spots on the line right now. None of them guaranteed, but hopefully we can see some clinches and some eliminations this week. Hopefully the Chargers. And these two teams are both eliminated from the playoffs, so they really have nothing to play for. The Washington Commanders taking on the New York Jets. I'm going with the Jets here. This puts them at 6-9. The Commanders 4-11. The Commanders were eliminated from the playoffs after they lost to the Rams this past weekend. And but I don't really have faith in the Commanders this season. So this puts the Jets at 6-9 and the Commanders 4-11. Both of these teams were eliminated this past weekend. The Jets lost to the Dolphins and the Commanders lost to the Rams. So I ended up going 13-3 this past week. So I feel good about week 15. Week 14 was an absolute disaster. Hopefully week 16 is not like that. So The Detroit Lions take on the Minnesota Vikings, and I think the Lions have a division title on the line here. If they win the division. For the first time in 30 years. I think the Lions do win the division because they're the only team with a over 500 record. Because the rest of the division is not really that good. The Packers are 6-8, and the Bears are 5-9, and the Vikings 7-7. But this puts the Vikings at 7-8 and the Lions 11-4, and I think they clinch the division with a win here. So I think they also clinch a playoff spot. Next game we have the all these games are on Christmas Eve. So the Cleveland Browns take on the Houston Texans. This game is crucial for the Browns to win because I think they can clinch a playoff spot with a lot of other things happening. They can clinch a wild card spot. I don't think the Browns win the division, but if the Ravens lose out, they could. So, I think they clinch a playoff spot, and if the Ravens lose out and the Browns win out, I think they win the division. That puts them at 12-5. So I don't think the Browns win the division. I think the Ravens win the division, but I think the Texans. This will put them at 8-7, and the Browns 10-5. I think they will clinch a playoff spot with this win. The Green Bay Packers take on the Carolina Panthers. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers here because the Panthers are probably the worst team in the NFL right now. They're currently 2-12, sitting with the number 1 overall pick. But they don't have the number 1 overall pick. Chicago has the number 1 overall pick. So they might trade out of that pick in the offseason, but Chicago has their first round pick, so because that trade with DJ Moore, they traded a first round pick for him. So I'm going with the Packers over the Panthers here. The Packers would be what would they be? 6-9? They'd be 7-8 with this win, and then the Panthers will be 2-13. So, but if they lose, they'll be 6-9. So, yeah, and it'll also be embarrassing because they lost to the worst team in the league. The Seattle Seahawks take on the Tennessee Titans. I am going with the Seahawks over the Titans here. Titans really have nothing to play for. They've been eliminated. As for the Seahawks, they have a playoff spot on the line. I think they'd have to get through the Rams in order to get that playoff spot. So whoever that number 7 seed is on the line there. So this would put the Seahawks at 8-7, and this would put the Titans at 5-10. They are already eliminated from the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter if they lose or win. So now they just have to worry about draft position. So they'll probably have a mid-round pick in the first round in the 2024 draft. But I'm going with the Seahawks. This puts them at 8-7. The Titans 5-10. The Indianapolis Colts take on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going with the Colts here. This puts the Falcons at 6-9. They're not really that good, and neither is the rest of the NFC South. But I think the Buccaneers control the tiebreaker over the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints. So even if they have the same record, I think the Bucs still win the division, unless something drastic happens in these next 3 weeks that, one of those teams ends up making the playoffs. So, but I am going with the Colts. This puts the divisions slightly more out of reach for the Falcons. This would put them at 6-9, and the Colts, they will be 9-6. So they'll clinch a winning season here. The Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am going with the Jaguars. This would put them at 9-6, and Jacksonville controls the tiebreaker over the Colts and the Texans. So, the Jaguars already played the Colts twice, so Week 18 will not be a matchup that will... I think it will be a matchup that'll secure the division, but hopefully it doesn't have to be, because the Jaguars will be 9-6, and the Bucks, they will be 7-8, but they currently hold the tiebreaker over the division. So, so I don't think they clinched the division right away. I think they clinched the division in Week 18. I think that's going to be how it's going to be. Either the Bucks win out against, the Jags, and then the two other opponents they have in Week 17 and 18. But, or they just go 9-8. Or 8-9, I don't even know. Or 7-10. So, but I am going with the Jags. This puts them at 9-6, and the Bucks, this puts them at 7-8. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Miami Dolphins. I am going with the Dolphins here. This puts the Cowboys at 10-5 and the Dolphins 11-4. I think they clinch a playoff spot, but I don't think they clinch the division, because the Bills are going to be coming a knocking for that division title. So if Miami... So Week 18, the Dolphins take on the Bills, and if they have the same record, then it'll be for the division. Which I don't see happening, just because, unless the Dolphins lose to the Cowboys and they lose their Week 17 matchup. I don't even know who they're playing in Week 17, so... But I am going with the Dolphins. This puts them at 11-4. And I think they clinch the division. Either they clinch the division or clinch a playoff spot. This will put them at 11-4. And the Cowboys already clinched a playoff spot, so they'd be 10-5. So, yeah, I'm picking the Dolphins. The Arizona Cardinals take on the Chicago Bears. I am going with the Bears here. This puts the Cardinals at 3-12 and the Bears 6-9. I don't think they make the playoffs even if they win out, just because the NFC is very top heavy with teams that are, above them in the ranks. So I think the Bears, I think one of the teams that has to loses, and the Bears get eliminated. So the Bears haven't been eliminated yet, even though they are 5-9. So I am going with the Bears here. This puts them at 6-9, and the Cardinals 3-12. Christmas Eve night, we have the New England Patriots taking on the Denver Broncos. I am going with, Lord help me, the Denver Broncos. I am picking the Broncos simply because the Patriots aren't really that good. They're the second worst team in the league. and they're currently holding a record of 3-11. So if the Broncos lose to the Patriots, it's going to be hilarious. But for pick's sake, I am going with the Broncos. This puts them at 8-7, and maybe I don't think the Chiefs lose to the Raiders. So I don't think I think the division is very out of reach for the Broncos right now. As for the Patriots, this puts them at 3-12. So they've already been eliminated. There's nothing they can do about that. So other than hope for Marvin Harrison Jr. So Christmas Day, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm obviously going with my Chiefs here. This puts them at 10-5. The Raiders would be 6-9, probably eliminated from the playoffs as well. Remember, we had to play the Raiders in Week 18 last year, and we ended up winning the Super Bowl. But we have to play the Chargers in Week 18, and I would assume next year is the Broncos, so unless it's going to be the Raiders again, so. But I am going with the Chiefs. This will put them at 10-5. The Raiders 6-9, even though Aiden O'Connell had 4 touchdowns. I mean, that was against the Chargers, so I don't think that's going to happen here on Christmas Day. And hopefully the Chiefs come up with a win. So this is probably one of the rare times the Chiefs play on Christmas. So yeah. At 4:30, we have the New York Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have lost 3 straight games, and I think if the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose to the Dolphins, there's a lot of playoff implications and division titles on the line here. The NFC East is up for grabs at the moment. Both the Cowboys and Eagles are sitting at 10-4. The Cowboys currently hold the division lead. They have the tiebreaker. As for the Eagles, I'm picking them to win. This will put them at 11-4, and the Giants, this will put them at 5-10 or 6-10, I think. No. 6-9, because I think the Giants are. No. What is the Giants' record? 6-8? No, because they lost to the Saints. They're 5-9. They're 5-9, and I think the Giants will be eliminated with this game as well. This puts them at 5-10. And as for the Eagles, this probably will be a division clincher, but I'm not exactly sure. This just puts them at 11-4. And finally, the last game of Week 16, we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is actually going to be a very heavyweight game. Both of these teams are 11-3. One of these teams makes it out with an 11-4 record, and one makes it out with a 12-3 record, and I'm going to pick the 49ers to finish 12-3 here. They're going to be chugging away for that number 1 seed, so and I don't think the Eagles win it this time around. Last Super Bowl was the battle of the number 1 seeds. I don't think that's going to be the case this season. But, hopefully the 49ers make the Super Bowl. So I'll definitely do a playoff bracket for this season as well. So anyways, I'm going with the 49ers over the Ravens. This puts them at 11-4, puts the Ravens at 11-4, and the 49ers 12-3. So Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Next week will be the last week of this will be the last prediction video of 2023. We'll definitely do more in the 2024 NFL season as well. So, this will be the next week will be the last prediction video of 2023. It'll be after Christmas. We'll do New Year's. So, anyways, we'll see you guys next week.